Karen Buckley, 24, went out with her pals to a nightclub on April 11, 2015, and she never came home. Karen Buckley was born in 1991 to John and Marion Buckley in the Irish city of Cork. Of the 4 children in her family, she was the only girl and the youngest. Karen was characterised as a nice and kind individual who was always willing to serve others when she graduated from St Mary's Secondary School in Mallow. Her profession was largely determined by her desire to assist others. Karen enrolled at the University of Limerick to study nursing after completing her secondary education. Her passion for occupational therapy brought her to Glasgow, Scotland, where she enrolled at Caledonian University to pursue a master's degree. In January 2015, Karen moved to Glasgow and shared an apartment with 3 other fresh female students. She and her roommates visited a nightclub around 2 kilometres away from their apartment on April 11, 2015. They enjoyed themselves after arriving at approximately 11:45 p.m. Karen told her companions about 1 in the morning that she was off to the bathroom and would be back soon. Leaving her jacket on the table where the company was seated, she grabbed her handbag and walked out. Her pals kept having a good time without her. They came to the realization eventually that Karen ought to have returned by then, but she had been gone for a long. Karen was not found when her friends searched the club for her. Endeavours to reach her by telephone likewise demonstrated fruitless. It was odd that Karen didn't tell anyone and left her jacket behind, but the friends she was with thought she might have gone home. At the point when they got back, the companions understood that their suspicions were off base. Karen was also absent. At that point, Karen's friends' only thought was that she might meet someone at the club and go home with him. The girls went to their beds with this idea in mind. Karen's neighbours were surprised to discover that she had not returned home when they woke up around noon. When I tried to call her again, nothing happened. Karen did not respond to messages or even sign in to any of the social media platforms. Despite the fact that Karen's friends had only known her for a short time, they were aware that this was not typical of her. They went to the police and reported her disappearance, informing the Buckley family of what had occurred, and they did not invent another version for their own self-assurance. The Scottish police are to be commended for their prompt search for Karen. Television and the media reported on her disappearance. The parents of Karen urged anyone with information regarding the whereabouts of their daughter to get in touch with the police. In the meantime, analysts got film from cameras at the club where Karen was most recently seen. The police discovered that she had been communicating with an unidentified man while going over them. On April 13th, 36 hours after she vanished, the man's identity was discovered and he was brought in for questioning. Alexander Pacto was the young man, and he was 21 years old. He conceded that he had to be sure met Karen that evening and that they had returned to his condo on Dorchester Road, which was roughly 3 kilometres from the club. He additionally revealed that they had gotten physically involved with one another. Despite his offer to stay until the morning, Karen made the decision to leave at around 4 a.m. and go home. Alexander also said that Karen had hit her head on the corner of the bed while they were dating, wounding her head and leaving marks on the sheets. The police's response to this information was mixed. From one viewpoint, Pacto appeared to need in all honesty. On the other hand, he appeared to be anticipating the events and attempting to explain what the police might discover in his apartment if they searched it. A man reported finding a woman's purse to the police on the same day, April 13th. After some investigation, it turned out to be Karen's purse that he had found it in the park near Alexander Pacto's house. Her phone and documents were in it. Pacto's version of events became more plausible as a result of this finding. It's conceivable that something happened to Karen after she left his condo. The active search for Karen continued in the interim. Many cops looked through parks and woods, waterways and deserted structures, expecting to find any pieces of information that could assist with the examination. The police only considered Alexander Pacto to be a suspect at this point. He was the last individual who saw Karen. The name of the suspect was kept a secret, and no information about him was made public by the investigators. However, journalists learned about the search of his apartment and the area around it 2 days after Karen went missing. Alexander Pacto's name has been made public ever since reporters from one of the newspapers spoke with other building residents. This is significant, however we will return to it later. Therefore, a search warrant for Pacto's apartment was obtained by the police. The principal thing that grabbed their eye when they entered was serious areas of strength for a smell. Additionally, they noticed that his bed's mattress was too big for it. On the bed and in the bathroom, small dark red spots were found, and samples were sent for testing. The apartment also contained a large quantity of cleaning supplies and a toolbox. Near Pacto's car, a police dog trained to look for bodies gave a signal. Detectives learned that Alexander Pacto had taken his car to a salon the day before to have it cleaned, but it appeared that the service was of poor quality while they were waiting for a search warrant for the vehicle. During the hunt, similar little dim red spots were tracked down within the traveller entryway, and tests of these were shipped off the lab. Though the active search for Karen continued, suspicions that she was no longer alive grew with each new discovery. As was mentioned earlier, journalists were able to learn the name of the suspect, and the following day, a picture of Alexander Pacto appeared on the front page of one of the newspapers. Shockingly, this step by the press ended up being useful for the examination. After seeing Pacto's picture in the newspaper, a man called the police and gave them some interesting details. He said that he had worked with Alexander some time back and realises that he leases a distribution centre on a homestead outside Glasgow. Pacto's apartment is approximately 9 kilometres away from the address of this farm. The information gathered was examined because any lead was significant. The farmer confirmed that Pacto pays him $10 per week to rent a storage unit. This is the location as well as the storage area. They discovered Karen's body in a 200-litre drum that had been dissolved in caustic soda. Caustic soda dissolves organic compounds and is an extremely reactive alkaline substance. Additionally, they discovered a bonfire containing mattress fragments that Pacto had attempted to burn. He was taken into custody as a suspect in Karen Buckley's case on the same day, April 15th. Understanding that there were a lot of proof against him, Pacto admitted to being the person who ended Karen's life. He claimed, however, that he was acting in self-defense. An approximate timeline of events for the days that Pacto attempted to cover his tracks and took Karen's life was compiled on the basis of the evidence the police found and the suspect's testimony. Therefore, around 1 a.m. on April 11th, 12, Karen left the club. It was still not clear why she did that. Karen said she would go to the bathroom and come back, according to her friends, and there was no argument between them. It is still a mystery why she left her jacket behind, even if we assume that she made the decision to return home for some reason. The case's officers looked over 900 hours of video from surveillance cameras. In one of the accounts, it was seen that Karen encountered Pacto subsequent to leaving the club. They walked together in the direction of where his car was parked after a brief conversation. It is accepted that he proposed to drive Karen to her condo. However, all things being equal, when they got into the vehicle, he went after her. Karen died in his car after Pacto used a large wrench to hit her 14 times in the head. The investigators discovered dark red stains in the bathroom and on Pacto's bed, as well as dried drops of Karen's blood in the car. He started making plans for his next move after getting rid of the girl. He started by getting rid of Karen's purse, which later turned up and was given to the police. Around 2 a.m. he got back. What he did next astonished the criminal investigators extraordinarily. He moved the body from the vehicle to his loft. He started looking for information about caustic soda on the internet using his phone at 8 in the morning. He then went to a retail plaza, where at 9:42 he purchased 6 litres of scathing pop, a respirator and gloves. He decided that 6 litres was insufficient, so on the way home he stopped at a different store and purchased additional caustic soda. He attempted to dispose of Karen's body after returning to his apartment by placing her body in the bathtub. Pacto didn't live alone. He realised he wouldn't have enough time to carry out his plan, so he took the body out of the bathtub, wrapped it in a blanket and hid it in his bedroom until his apartment neighbour returned home around 8 p.m. He threw her the following day, on April 13th, into the River Clyde, where divers discovered it. He then sought assistance from a consultant at a shopping centre about 1.5 miles away from his house. He wanted to know of a product that could get blood off of a mattress, so he asked for one. He additionally purchased 2 locks. He took Karen's mattress, bedding and clothing to a farm on the same day, where he burned everything. He bought a barrel on the way home to put the body in later. Around 2 p.m, he took the barrel to a leased stockroom, poured in the leftover scathing pop, locked the door with the 2 latches he purchased and returned home. At 6 o'clock in the evening, the police came to his house and questioned him. What transpired next is already known to you. Despite Pacto's admission of guilt, it was still unclear what motivated him. He claimed that during an argument that broke out in a car, he killed Karen out of self-defense. However, because it appeared to be an attempt to justify his actions, investigators did not trust this version. The police thought Pacto was trying to cover up another crime by killing Karen and then throwing away her body. Notwithstanding, because of the level of decay, specialists couldn't decide whether Karen had been exposed to savagery before her passing. Alexander Pacto was found guilty in September 2015 and given a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 23 years. He apologized to the Buckley family, claiming to be sorry, through his lawyer. Pacto admitted to his attorney that the night of the incident he was too drunk to remember why he killed Karen.